You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, author, speaker, mentor, and guide. I'm here today to discuss living life after adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to your joy, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. Today we have Maribeth Decker of sacredgrove.com. She's considered an expert in the intuitive animal communication, medical intuition, and energy healing fields. In her sessions, she offers not just animal communication. Using three methods, she leads pets and their people to a place of emotional, behavioral, and physical healing. Based on her extensive experience with animal transitions, Maribeth wrote the Amazon bestseller, Peace in Passing: Comfort for Loving Humans During Animal Transitions. Her book provides a roadmap to help guardians navigate this difficult leg of their animal's life. To date, Maribeth has completed over 1,500 sessions with people and their pets. Her clients have come from Australia, Canada, the Czech Republic, England, the French West Indies, Scotland, Switzerland, and Thailand, as well as the US. Welcome, Maribeth, and let's get into all the ways that got you into this line of work and all of the powerful stories that brought you to your purpose. Welcome, Maribeth. I'm so grateful that you are here. Where in the world are you tuning in from?
Well, I'm here in Alexandria, Virginia, and maybe to make it more real to people, we're about 10 miles south of Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. So that's where I'm at today.
Oh, fantastic. And how's the heat over there? Is it pretty warm?
Oh, this is one of the warning days. I'm going to talk Fahrenheit. I apologize, but it may get up to 108 with our humidity.
Wow.
So it's going to be short dog walks in the shade.
Yes, yep, absolutely. We've had the same type of heat out
Yep.
here in Saskatchewan, Canada, so I understand. So tell us a little bit about your history, Maribeth, your story, really what brought you onto the podcast today.
Well, I always wonder what I should share. When you hit 70, you think, well, I got a lot of stuff. But let's do the short version for everybody's patience. Um, I was a I think I was a kid. So for me, who didn't feel like I fit in. I'm not even sure if anybody feels like they fit into this world, but I'll start it
Mm,
that way. When I was in my early teens, I actually had a very enlightening experience. I was going to, we called them catechism classes, and I asked God if God was real, and I got an answer. And it wasn't in language, it was the sense of a caring, loving being who was just like, absolutely, here I am. And I felt that presence leave. So they gave me an example. And I'm saying they because it didn't feel like male or female. Like they
mm.
pulled themselves away from my being. And I'm like, oh, it's just like you pull the air out of the world. And then they brought themselves back in. And I felt the caring and the love. Uh, but there's not really anybody who wants to have a conversation, at least in my world, where, geez, I just think I talked to God and I had a good one. So that was was pushed down. I
Mm.
get to share it now because who cares? You know, who cares? I don't know,
Right.
you think what you want. Um, but I had some things to finish. Uh, I joined the Navy. Um, my boyfriend at the time, it's, had a habit. I found out later of taking his girlfriends to the Navy recruiter. He was in the Navy. He had been in the Navy as a way of ending the relationship.
Oh,
Well, it worked. I joined the Navy. I told him any warm island because I we'd had a terrible blizzard in Buffalo, New York, and I got Puerto Rico. But what I noticed was these people drink like me, and strangely enough, the Navy gave me the opportunity to become sober, and that was huge for me. I see, they talk about timelines, and you see when you make a choice and you notice how it's ended up. And I think about if I had not, what my life would look like. And so I think that was the start of me looking inward and trying to do better, to do better on my own terms.
mhm,
And I also recovered from an eating disorder. I mean, there was one, alcohol was about fear, and overeating was about anger for me. And so I was dealing with a lot of stuff there. So fast forward, I've completed my career as a Navy officer. I'm in an association working really nice with a lot of nice people. At the end, I've got this intuitive need. It was like it's not leaving me that I need to do massage. And I'd been working for the CEO and senior staff. I was like, where does that come?
mhm.
But during that point, I learned energy healing, and my dogs started communicating with me. And oh, by the way, I'm an animal communicator now. But
Okay.
the ups and downs and following these leads into these places, overcoming the fear of doing something weird, probably
Mm,
again and again, because I mean, just for me, a lot of my high school and mates are still living where they grew up. And
mhm.
although I got to college, I've been a lot of places because of the Navy and because of the
Mm,
association.
absolutely. Mhm,
So I just see listen, listening to those little strange whispers that say it's probably a good time to do this, um,
right.
led me to where I am now.
Mm,
And it's been an I was going to say eye opener, but I think the word is a heart opener for me to see the world in a completely different way than I'd ever dreamed. Because I laugh. I say I did not come out of the womb talking to animals, but here I am.
fair enough.
Never too late.
Well said.
Yeah,
Excellent. Okay. So,
okay.
it sounds to me like the theme of everything that has been going on with you for, the past 70 years, has been very much a um, following intuitions and following the little nudges that are telling you, hey, let's try this, and hey, let's try that, and moving away from alcoholism and eating disorders and all kinds of different things, bringing you to this place. How does that feel in terms of, do you feel that you've been intuitively guided?
I do. I don't think I recognized it at the time, but I do kind of look back and say, well, how the heck did that happen? It's like putting putting me in the Navy, and in the US, I'm sure it's around the world, they talk about drinking like a sailor,
Mm,
and
mhm.
putting me in there, and then sending me to a duty station where we were teaching sailors and officers that they should drink responsibility is the ultimate chuckle, I think, from God to say, "Oh, here's a hint." And I do
Yeah.
see those things coming through that I'm
Right.
guided, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. All righty then.
Mhm.
What's the next surprise that's going to show up for me?"
Right. Certainly. Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That is wonderful. And so, where leading you into this animal communication now, how has that influenced you in your life?
Uh, Thank you for letting me just pause a moment.
Mm,
I think maybe the greatest gift has been finding a way to become more open-hearted. I think I said that, but I'll say it more clearly, less judgmental about people and their animals, understanding more of what's going on, which helped me understand myself, um, and seeing the world in a way where it's not an it's not an hierarchy with us at the top. I think we got the message wrong, and seeing us as one of the groups of beings living on this planet trying to make a go of it, and see, beginning to see that everybody's valuable. That was
mhm.
a big change for me. uh I kind of felt it, but I started to see it in more real ways.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
That's
I
very
think it's
impactful.
also, yeah, it is. And the Navy helped me with that because we I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I grew up with certain beliefs and understandings about how the world worked. And then I joined the Navy and I met people from so many different parts of the country and so many different backgrounds. And then I lived in Japan for 3 years,
Mhm.
and lived on the west coast of the US and in Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and understood so many different ways of seeing how they, other humans, deal with the world or have figured out the world. And then to add animals into that, that's for me, that was a pretty cool shift.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Traveling does a beautiful job of teaching you that your bubble is way too small.
Yeah. And it's good to get it popped.
Get it popped. Isn't that the truth?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
fantastic.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about this because it keeps coming in. One of the It's hard to talk about. I lost my husband, uh, also when the kids were 8 and 10. He was 45 and I was 42,
I'm
and
sorry.
it was a heart attack in the house. My kids were home, and I'm adding that in because it's important to realize that even in those places, one there's a way to regroup and to keep living joyfully. But it doesn't, I mean, it's not like the next day. Oh, oh, but that recovery is possible. Like I knew recovery from alcoholism, yes, eating disorder, but recovery from grief, wow,
Yeah.
that a lot is possible here in this lifetime. And we are capable of of that if we choose. So
Mm.
somehow that seemed to be important to say. So thank you for letting me to go back to that piece.
Of course, Mary Beth, it is really important because grief is so prevalent in today's society. And, on the podcast here, we talk a lot about stories and things that come up for people that were really difficult, and how they turned that on its head. So I'm curious, what were some of the ways that going through that awful experience, what were some of the ways that it impacted you? Or some of the ways that you were able to move forward?
The mm, well, I had a thought like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I'd rather just end it. And then I look at my two kids and I'm like, yeah, no, you don't. That's not an option. So getting up every day and doing it, that was part of the like, you have to, you have to.
Mm,
Um, and it was so hard because now what when you're in a relationship, you do, this is not the outcome that we're expecting, especially in our 40s. And so,
of
I
course.
mean, I actually, after my husband died, I had this conversation with him, and I really think he was listening. And I said, I was not planning on being a single parent.
Mm, mm,
um, you better keep an eye on those kids because your parenting duties are not over. And I do absolutely believe that he watched over them too and kept them out of moving a little too far into the crazy stuff as a teen and a young 20s.
right.
So I had that understanding. Um, and I think what the other thing that kept me going was that there was a shift in me again to see what might be next. Now, I didn't shift in anything specifically, but it's like the who I am was not this, and this is true, is not the same as the Mary Beth before I lost Winston.
Mm,
Um, and the who I was afterwards, uh, started living a really interesting life with animal communication, and it took a while again, but I think something shifted there for the positive, and I was open to that as well.
mm.
uh, that's as far as I can explain it. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense.
It does. It certainly does. I'm a grief survivor as well. And
Mm.
I certainly know what it feels like, the post you, the second version. And I think that what's really important, and what's really important to note there, is that you said that, you had to really kind of make a choice to accept the good, because there's always good. No matter what, these awful situations that happen to us, there is always good. It's just whether or not we will choose to accept the good.
It really is. Uh, just and I don't know. Again, I'm glad you said that. Accepting the good. There was something that was happening to me, and I liked it. Uh,
Mhm.
and that is not to say that I was happy that my husband passed.
By no means.
Oh my goodness. But you're right. And to be allowed to say that there was some good that came out of it for me. Um,
Mhm. Yeah,
I hope my children figure something out. They're in their 30s, but everybody has their own path.
certainly. There's no
Yeah.
question.
Mm.
I had a really fantastic interview guest once who said something really powerful. She said, "You can hold two things at once because you have two hands." And she said, "You can hold grief in one hand and joy in the other. And they do not need to be exclusive. They can be mutually exclusive together. And you can have this you can find ways to find joy in this in grief-stricken times, in awful times where you'd rather not be holding any containers, but here you are nevertheless. And I think that in those moments when you're holding joy in one hand, in this case it's the animal communication, allowing, yourself or any grief survivor to allow that to bloom. There's no need to feel guilt or feel that you're not honoring the person. Instead, it's more of a, you have two hands and that both can exist.
That's beautiful. That is so true. I two couple ye couple years ago, I lost two my two dogs passed away, and one of my cats. We have a little bunny behind me, my cat bunny. Her brother passed within, and they all passed within 5 weeks of each other. And
Jeez.
so yeah, yeah. And if for my second husband, current husband, and I, it was the same thing. But I did find that I might be sobbing like a crazy person, and yet I was remembering all the joy that they brought into my life, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't have it any other way. I
Right.
wouldn't say I would not do this again because I'm hurting. No, I remember their faces. I remember the walks we could take. I remember playing ball with my cat, catch the ball with the cat. And you're right. I got them both going on at the same time, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and you light up when you say it, and
Yeah.
that is just fantastic.
Yeah.
That it really is. That's I love that. You're able to remember all of these great times and yes, and it can be so difficult. But I think that that's true with anything, with disease and disaster and grief and all of these sorts of things, is that it can be just absolutely devastating and awful. But yet every single person will say exactly what you said, which is that, you wouldn't have it any other way. You wouldn't have changed something. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. And
Yeah.
because the gift that they brought into our lives,
Mm.
well, I'm using my example.
Yeah.
Oh, please. uh, they were priceless. It was priceless. Yeah.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
I heard a saying once, grief is the price that we pay for love, and it is a price that I will pay every time.
I
Mhm.
love that. Love
Yeah,
that.
truly, truly.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what are you focusing on now here, Mary Beth?
Well, I I am ready to. I'm going to start teaching my UConnect animal communication class this month, and that's to help people connect with their own animals. But everybody that takes the class finds out that they can connect with other animals, and so it's a real joy. So I'm doing that, and um, because we're talking about grief, I just wanted to say that I'm also reminding people that I have a book uh, that I do love, and I talk about peace and passing, comfort for loving humans during animal transitions, because I've done so much work in that area for for folks, and so I thought, let me help more people and get some of the stories out and things and the mindsets, and that's a lot of times that's what I'm talking about is the mindsets that it takes to weather the maybe and navigate the end part of our animal's life because
Mm,
it's so hard.
wonderful. And this is a book you've written.
Yeah, so I'm not used to it yet, but I'm going to brag. It was an Amazon. It's an Amazon bestseller on pet loss, and just had somebody write to me from India saying that book really helped her. So it's getting out
Oh,
there slowly. So
that's a big deal.
yeah, it is.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, and this is really the theme of our podcast today. We've talked so much about grief and loss, whether that be of people or of animals, which is really the same. You've got these
Yes.
beautiful souls that love you so much, and there is a loss there and a deep one. And so, what you've really done is you've taken a lot of your experiences and you've turned them into a powerful story. And I find that the true the true meaning of resilience is people who are able to find a way to help others in their pain.
Oh yeah. It- that is true. And if and so of course I'm looking at it personally. I,
Mhm.
every time I can figure out something that that I've gone through and use that to help others, it makes me more whole,
Mm.
more grounded, more like, oh, this is a good life.
Yeah, it is.
I like this. You
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
it is. I think that a couple of things are true here. Human beings are wired to help others. For sure. We are wired for it. It's what lights us up. And I think the second thing that is true is that the quickest way to heal from any sort of grief or pain is to utilize our deep-seated need to be of service.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Yeah, because it really has helped me in working with folks and being able to reassure them that because I know from my own experience, and I've talked to animals after they've passed,
Mhm.
that they don't hold any grudges in the afterlife. I just got to say this. People are worried about whether they let them go too early,
Mhm.
or they decided to hold on longer than the animal wanted. And every time, if they made the decision with love, the animal's like, no, I'm good. I love you. That's what I brought with me to the other side. And that's what I learned from my own experience. So you're right. You're right.
Certainly. So give us a little bit of a quick rundown of what are some of the ways that we can begin to mourn and be at peace with loss of our pets.
Um, if you having the mindset that they have they had their own spiritual journey,
Mm.
and it may have differed from what we wanted. I'm not
Mhm.
being a smart aleck in this, but like sometimes they're saying, "Oh, look, I gotta go."
Right.
To just know that we didn't do anything wrong. This is theirs. Uh, and the fact that they survived death with a personality. My animal communication started out with two of my dogs who had passed connecting
Mhm.
to me. So I'm
Mhm.
here to say I've experienced it. I know it. When you know that they're not gone forever, and also know that love survives death. So you've still got that loving connection to them.
Mm.
It's not just they're not just in your heart. They are a full energetic being out there. So it's really nice to say, and will always live in your heart. Well, they will always live in the universe,
Yeah,
in whatever form they want to be. Uh, and a lot of them, if you look for it, will come back and let you know that they're okay by some way. Um, I've heard so many stories. I've had my own experience, and so if you ever feel like somebody, one of them has come back in some way, um, seeing them out of the corner of your eye, hearing their nails on the floor, dreaming about them. just believe it. Say thank you for doing this, and I'm
Mhm.
so glad you're okay and you came and did this for me. Like, don't second guess it. And that will help a lot.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. And going to be very helpful for those who have lost pets, which is so many people. We love our animals, and there's nothing like the unconditional love of a pet for sure. And so with that loss, I know that these tips will be very helpful.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Good.
they're so, I really want people to understand that their pets still love them and still connected.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I follow a really fantastic medium. I'm not sure if you believe in mediums. It's okay if you do or don't.
Oh, I do. Yeah. If I
Oh,
connect to
wonderful.
yeah. So go for it.
Yeah. Well, his name's Tyler Henry, and he'll talk about people's pets and the loss of the pets. And he talks about their souls in the way that they are able to show images of their owners and of their family, and just like a human being would. And I just think that is the coolest thing, when you hear those stories.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you my best story, my own, after I lost my dogs and my cat was the night before my dog T died.
Hmm.
I dreamt that I was with Tibor, Stella, and Stella was the dog who had passed 4 weeks prior,
Mm.
and Mitsubishi, the Siberian Husky that was Stella's big buddy before T came in. So you got three dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm walking with them, and there's a huge number of dogs around, and it feels like there is it's like a medical facility for dogs. Like they're really taking good care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, they take me over to this little dog, and that dog starts running with us. And
Mm.
it turns out that I got the spitting image of that dog, and uh, uh, about 2 months later, we adopted from a rescue. So you think of all the dogs running around being taken care of from a
Mhm.
rescue, and it looks. I'm sorry, he's over in the corner here, Mr.
Mhm.
Newt. Like they just told me you're going to get this guy, and this is what he's going to look like.
Mm.
So it was the best. It was the best. So those kind of things are possible for us.
Certainly. Ah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Well, good for you. You have been through a lifetime of experiences, good, bad, ugly, all of it, and have come out with this fantastic gift and gift that you are gifting to other people, which is, this opportunity to feel a little bit of peace when there's a loss of someone that they love. And I just really applaud you for all of your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. And even through the difficult stuff, it's been so enjoyable. Thank you, Christine.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I will link your book here so that if anyone else is going through something similar, that they'll be able to connect with you and be able to, hear your story and learn from some of your teachings.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maribeth. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this last episode, then consider rating the podcast. Those few seconds that it takes makes a huge difference. Also, if you are interested in mentorship, transformational programs, or reading the book Unbroken, Rising Above, Thriving Within, then take a look at the show notes for all the resources and links. Always remember, you can overcome any obstacle. Let's do this together.